And here's the other fact that really galls the ever-living hell out of me. Actually, I'll stick with that, and then we'll come back to... We'll stick with this. This is my tweet. When America was a white country and the only country in the world with nuclear weapons, it didn't stop other countries from building them. America got nukes in 45, Russia 49, China, an actual threat to the U.S., got nukes in 64. We could have, and you could look at China, and for a very long time, just to pause there for a second, you could look at China for a very long time and see a considerable threat to the well-being of the white race. In 64, they obviously weren't anywhere close to the power and control that they wield today. But in China, you have a very bright population, a very committed population, a very strictly controlled population that can be put to work on specific tasks. That is dangerous as all hell for our well-being. And yet in 64, you allow that nation to start producing nuclear weapons? That is insane. But once again, the white race, you do in your backyard, we'll do in ours. Israel, Mordecai, thank God for Mordecai Vanunu, got them nukes in 66. Again, didn't build them on their own. At least that's my opinion. Check it out for yourselves. At this point, Israel and the Israeli people, by way of many of their leaders and terrorist gangs like the Irgun, had demonstrated that they were a belligerent, bellicose, pugnacious people. And you're going to allow them to have nuclear weapons? India got them in 74. People who can't even stop shitting in the streets. More people defecate. I've seen the data. You'll have to look it up for yourself and see if I didn't look at false data. More people defecate in the streets in some cities in India than the rest of the world. But look it up for yourself. Make sure I've got it right. You don't stop them from nukes. How about this? Totally psychotic and an actual threat to the United States. The Pakistanis got nukes in 1998. How do you not? By 98, we could just press buttons over here. You wouldn't have to go over there and risk any lives of our airmen. Not a single American. You just tell the psychotic Pakistanis, no, they are. I mean, if you look, the Iranians are far more civilized than the Pakistanis. You could have just, but they weren't a threat to Israel. Nothing's done. Another totally psychotic group of people and an actual threat to the United States, North Korea. In 2006, the white race does nothing. I guess white lives don't matter. Apparently, white lives don't matter. Because when nations on planet Earth that hate us, that have demonstrated deep psychosis, when they get the weapons that can obliterate our whole cities, snuff out white people by the millions with a single blast, and for generations to come, America doesn't do shit. Nothing. But when Israel claims that there is a threat to them posed by nuclear weapons. Now America has to break out every tool available. Some of the brightest, highest tech on planet Earth has to be immediately employed to protect them, because their lives do matter. Why do their lives matter? Why do their lives matter to the white politicians and non-white politicians in America? Why do their lives matter to both political parties? And don't give me any of this garbage that I'm seeing elsewhere, that Kamala would have been at war in Iran in the first month for Israel. Are you kidding? Trump was the only way this, and then the idea that, well, if Kamala went to war, then all of the Republicans would oppose the war in Iran. Are you listening to the Republicans? Are you looking at the entities who finance the Republicans? Are you looking at, do you really think Ted Cruz is going to come out and say, absolutely no, no war for Israel? If Kamala wants it, no war for Israel. The same guy who just said that God told humanity for all time that we have to defend and die for the nation state of Israel. These people are just merchants on the right, peddling their grift so it keeps rolling in, with a bunch of dysfunctional losers who drink in their slop content. That's what it's all about for them. I say, so stopping Iran from having a nuclear weapon is not an American project. It's an Israeli and some Jewish American project. America is in this war because some American and Israeli Jews said jump. And the American government said, how high? And the whole world knows it. The whole world can see it. Something else that really angers me about this is this. Islam will control the UK, I write, and France within one lifetime. So back it up. Back it up, bitches. Because anti-whiteism dominates Western countries. White people are injured in myriad ways, physically, mentally, and spiritually, every single day, from brand new babies all the way up to our senescent and wizened elderly. We are victimized every single day. We are being white erased from our countries. Everywhere we look, we're being white erased. But that's okay. Now, if Islam having nukes was an issue, then wouldn't the Islamification of Western civilization be an issue? Wouldn't that be something that we would say, whoa, if we drop 14, and that's all that we know, it might be more than 14 of these BMOP bunker busting bombs on Iran, then isn't it more so that Iran can't have a single bomb, a single nuclear weapon? Isn't it more of an issue that we prevent Islam from influencing France, that has a shit ton of nuclear weapons? Or what about the UK? I mean, France has, like, somebody look it up, 500 nuclear missiles, ICBMs. England has like 400 ICBMs. And every single day, Islam has a greater influence, and Arabs in general, a greater influence over those two countries, and more Western countries as well. I mean, for God's sakes, they're even looking to build a Islam only, virtually, city in Texas, of all places. I guess the stars and stripes are not big and bright in Texas anymore, deep in the heart of Texas. I guess it's more like the crescent moon now. is big and bright deep in the heart of Texas. Why is that? When we talk about numerical diffidence and numerical courage in Go Free, the Go Free practice, you got to hurry up, bro. You got to hurry up. When we talk about that, we filled out the definitions with the ideology of a people potentially empowering or disempowering said people. So if Arabs are in the West and they're practicing Islam, which is an empowering religion, so magnifying their numbers many-fold, and it has demonstrated that there's no denying that. If they are in the West and they're practicing Islam, their number for numerical courage can be much lower, especially since this is more like algebra. And you can look on the other side of the equation and say, well, what is the host population, the creator population of the West? What's the ideology animating them? Well, the ideology animating them is anti-whiteism, which weakens us relative to all of the other peoples. So you have Arabs coming in, and of course there are going to be a lot of good Arabic people, even Arabic people practicing Islam that want nothing to do with this percentage that gets all of the news and gains the power and etc. So it's like that with all groups in humanity. But if you have Arabs coming in and they're practicing Islam, a religion that empowers them greatly, relative to the white host creator population practicing an ideology that disempowers us, it ain't going to be long. It'll be a single lifetime if we do not assert our interests and our white well-being as a people, not abstractions, not in keeping with something white guys have written at some point in the past, not with referencing the Magna Carta, okay? Not with referencing the Constitution, but referencing our physical selves, our identity, our manifest destiny. If we do not push back in a single lifetime, they will have such influence over France and England that those weapons and their targets will be greatly determined by those folks. But what's it today? It's the now. It's the Iran right now. It ain't the nukes in these Western countries where white people are getting obliterated. It's a good thing when white people are being white erased. That's good. That'll become problematic for Israel and these Israel supporting anti-white Jews only when these people start bad-mouthing Jews and they have the trigger. Only then will it become an issue for them. It won't matter how many of you suffer, how many of your white asses get white erased. They're not going to care for you, and why should they? Islam will control the UK and France within one lifetime if we don't stop them. Islam is spreading across the totality of the West, including the US. Yet, we are supposed to believe that we can't allow Islamists in Iran to have nuclear weapons because they will nuke U.S. cities for opposing Islam? The great Satan. The UK and France are full of nukes that will soon be in the hands of Islamists, or at least heavily influenced by them. This is not, in my opinion, this is not about the good of America, much less the good of the white race. This is about Israel and the treasonous anti-white Jews like Laura Loomer, who put Israel before America. That is something that can only be arrested in specifically talking about here. Jewish people putting Jewish interests ahead of this country Not all Jews will do that, but the Jews who do, that can only be arrested when we become a people. U.S. drops, now according to this was yesterday, and I told folks yesterday, you can't believe, there's no way any of these numbers are true. Why would the American military give you the truth? So yesterday it was 6. Today it's 14 MMOPs. 14 of them. The actual number? Who knows? The actual number of sites hit? Who knows? So 14 of the bunker busting bombs, 30 of the Tomahawks missiles that they fired from our nuclear submarines, highest tech on planet Earth. The bombs delivered by the highest tech on planet Earth. Our tech, never serving our interests. Never. Idiocy to believe it was just 14. Idiocy to believe it was just 30 Tomahawk missiles. Idiocy to believe that it was only those targets. This is sanitized for the population. You want the truth? Become a people. This speech that Trump gave made me sick. This is supposed to be we voted him into office. We voted him into office for no more wars. Obviously, everybody who voted him into office for no more wars would support defending the United States, not Israel. We are sick of it. Lifetimes of servitude, obsequious servitude, lifetimes of Netanyahu showing up, Satan Yahoo, as Yiz likes to say. Showing up, he comes and doddering in. I've not worked at imitating him. Perhaps I should. Seen him so many times, and these other prime ministers from Israel show up, and it's like, and they have tried to kill your president, and they're going, if they get a nuclear bomb, it will eventually be Israel, but it will also be New York, Miami, Washington, D.C., and they've tried to assassinate your beloved president twice. They even hate your mother. They've said horrible things about your mom. So you have to help us destroy them. You just want to slap the shit out of that used car salesman. Showing up again and again. And here we arrive at the issue where the Israelis started a war with Iran that they could not finish. The Israelis don't have these BMOPs. We've given them, the United States, not us, we've been fleeced of a much smaller bunker buster that could not reach any of these targets. So instead, they focused on their bombing, widespread bombing, to cripple Iran's ability to retaliate against them with surface-to-surface missiles, with their jets, to cripple their radar systems of the various types so that they could fly with impunity across the country. And not only that, be able to show up at America's doorstep and say, hey, you'll be able to fly there with impunity too. Time for you to, hey, get in there, big boy. Time for you to go wrap this up, America. Time for you to go sully your reputation a little bit more. Time for you to emasculate the white race a little bit more, because that's what this is. When you are, and this is generally speaking for our people as a whole, the injury of using us like a whore is an emasculization. That's what this is. That's what we see time and time again. Our whole lives, we have had to watch this. We have had to suffer the indignity of this immaculization over and over. Is service to other people. It's not just anti-white Jews. It's anti-white black people in the black population, anti-white Jews in the Jewish population, anti-white Arabs in the Arab population, anti-white Hispanics in the Hispanic population. Everything of us poured out, and there's nothing we can do about it. That is a deep psychological wound to a people used like that. Imagine if this were happening to any other group of people, how anti-whites would howl to the full moon covered in fur. They would howl to the full moon about the psychological, spiritual injury and demasculization of their populations by using their ingenuity and their intelligence and their lives for your benefit. For fuck's sake! The white race, like every other race on earth, participated in slavery, human chattel slavery, before we put an end to it. And the anti-whites have told us and injured us with white guilt our whole lives, white guilting us, that was the most inhumane thing that you could do to a people, because you were stealing their lives. You were stealing their labors from them. This theft is not just of our labor. It's not just of our dignity. This is of our destiny. This is of our ingenuity. This is of our creativity. This is of our industry. This is all of us bent over and hoard out for every other group of man on planet Earth. And in this case, most salient, the anti-whites in the Jewish population, sick and tired of it. Fuck you and your fucking wars. And at the same time, I can say, I want all innocent Jewish people who aren't anti-white, innocent Jews in Israel, to be uninjured and loved and have fulfilling lives, children and holidays and birthdays, weddings. I want all that for all people. That's my genuine sentiment. That's not what's happening here. I'm being raped again and again, emasculated again and again, stripped of my dignity again and again. Never us fighting for ourselves. Never our well-being. Our tech for our well-being. There would be, ladies and gentlemen, if we controlled, think about this for a moment, if we controlled our destiny and therefore our countries and the weaponry and everything else that goes with it, there would be total peace on planet Earth. The white race, as you can see on planet Earth, would get, as you can see by the proliferation of nuclear weapons, would continue to have a your backyard, our backyard mentality. We would use our weaponry to put an end to the virus. We would not allow India and Pakistan to have nuclear weapons and potentially jeopardize the environment of the entire world with their spat amongst themselves. We would remove that as a threat to the world, as a threat to mankind. The white race would collectively go to India and Pakistan, France, the UK, the United States, Australia, Germany. Could you imagine Germany, ingenuity, intelligence unleashed? We would all go to India and Pakistan and say, look, we can shoot down all of your nuclear weapons from orbit before they even get out of their launching bays. We could blow them up in your own countries. So you're going to turn them all over to us. You can still hate each other, but we're not going to allow one side or the other to conquer the other one. There's not, every single conflict between you two, you will come to us and we will make the most equitable conclusion for both sides. You are not going to jeopardize planet Earth over Pakistani versus Indian. That's what the world would be like. It would be nirvana if the white race were in charge of our destiny. Instead, it is an inferno. It is Dante's deepest hell. Because we don't control our destiny. Because we are used and abused like a cheap street whore. That is what angers healthy white people. Not that Jews are born Jewish, or that Israeli Jews want to protect their country, or that Iranians are born Iranian, or that they want to protect their country. We are sick of being whored out. Do you hear me, Trump? And then he comes out and says this. I'm not playing the whole thing. I don't know if they have the whole thing. They probably do. But at the end, he makes sure to say, God bless Israel.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise.
All right, let's see what it says down here. U.S. military dropped 6 bunker buster. We now are being told 14. It's, by the way, the only thing I could find online was years ago there was a claim, and perhaps you can find something else. There was a claim that the U.S. had 30 of these BMOPs. So that's half almost. Did they use 20? Did they use all 30? Here's something else to consider. Talking about being emasculated and raped and abused by anti-whites in the Jewish population. As glaring and salient of a raping as it can be. It took us not only the ingenuity and creativity of the white race, the industry, the time, all of the multifarious, incomprehensible parts, dynamic, kinetic parts working together, but also $500 billion of our dollars to develop the technology of the BMOP. So, our genetics, it took our biospirit, it took our intelligence, it took our creativity, it took all of the other invisible but operating and kinetic elements of our instinct, of the West that we've built, plus $500 billion to develop the tech. That should be all ours. It should never be used for anyone else. If America wants to set up a gas station, if we were in charge of our destiny, and America decided, well, we're going to set up a gas station in the Middle East, and we got to drop a couple of these, at least it would be in our interest. We're not getting shit out of this. More pain, more suffering, more theft of our intelligence, of our creativity, of our money, of our lives, of our dignity, of our continuity from our inception of our countries. More theft. These doddering Israeli dogs. And they cost $4 million a piece to build. So all of that tech, the U.S. went over there, and you probably know, I don't know if it'll say here, President Trump either sent some B-2 Spirits. This is the Flying Wing. By the way, does anybody know where the original design, where the United States, the white scientists, United States engineers, got started working on the B2 Spirit. Do you know where that started?